speaker. I have the honor to chair that first panel on music and Ukrainian national identity. We've got two speakers. First of them being Helmut Loos, whose education is basically German and Bonn-based. As far as I've seen, he's a music. He enjoyed studies in music education, in musicology, art history, and philosophy. Afterwards, he became a research fellow at the University of Bonn Department for Musicology. Then later on, he was director of the Institute of German Music in the Eastern regions in Bergisch Gladbach. Then he was professor at the Technical University in Chemnitz, and afterwards in Leipzig. He was appointed as a professor honoris causa by the Lysenko Conservatory in Lviv. He also is honorary director of the National Music University in Bucharest, and he's honorary member of the Society of German Musical Culture in Southeastern Europe. Helmut is member of several educational boards of journals in Prague, formerly in Kyiv, in Dnipro, as well in Moscow, in Vilnius, in Ljubljana, in Bucharest, and New Jersey. If you're not, no, I'm fine with that. But you deserved it. And now he's gonna talk about on the emerge of Ukrainian national music until Mykola Lysenko. And I would invite you to reduce probably your presentations to some 20 minutes. I will give you hand signs, so we still have time for discussion. There you go.
Thank you very much. Dear colleagues, today the nation-state movement in Ukraine is generally regarded as a phenomenon of the late 19th and early 20th century, when Ukraine was part of the Russian Empire. The history of Ukrainian cultural consciousness, however, is older. It was already expressed in the early 18th century with a systematic collection of manuscripts of Ruthenian devotional songs, the documenting of which reached back to the 1660s. Its emergence can be dated at the latest to the years surrounding 1800, just when separate national identities were being formed from national art and culture throughout Europe. National songs and folk songs were central features of this new movement, one of the most famous being supposedly ancient Gaelic songs and epic poems of Ossian invented by the Scotsman James Macpherson, 1760. In Ukraine, the hetmanate of the Zaporozhian Cossacks became the model of the nation-state, which asserted itself from the 6th to the 18th century in the border region between the aristocratic Republic of Poland-Lithuania and the Russian Empire. Modern monuments document this historical reference point and its changing emphasis. In 1888, a monument was erected in Kyiv to honor Bogdan Khmelnytsky, who led the uprising against Poland-Lithuania in 1648-56. In 2009, a monument was erected in Chernihiv for Ivan Mazepa, who fought against the Tsar beginning in 1707. The Zaporozhian Cossacks had an administrative center on Khortytsia, an island in the Dnieper that was surrounded by rapids and difficult to access. Here in the Zaporozhye, people of various origins, most of them refugees, gathered to assert themselves as free people. The first witness to Ukrainian culture consciousness was Wenyhora, a legendary Ukrainian folk singer and prophet. He died 1769, who was depicted by the Polish historian Joachim Lelewel around 1830. Mikhail Tchaikovsky, a leading representative of the Ukrainian school of Polish literature, published his work on Wenyhora in 1838, which was then published soon after in 1848 in Leipzig by Brockhaus. The title Wenyhora the Seer in Borderland, a historical narrative from 1768. I think it's much fake, it is. In the sketch of a well-known painting by the Polish historical painter Jan Matejko from 1875, Wenyhora is depicted with a hurdy-gurdy, which identifies him as a singer. The instrument is missing in the completed painting. In the play Wesele Wedding by the Polish painter Stanislaw Wyspiański from 1901, Wenyhora appears as a stage character. You can see here a historical photo of this theater piece. Ukrainophilia was widespread in Poland, including in the Młodopolska. The national movements supported each other. The Ukrainian poet Pavlo Szybiński wrote the patriotic poem Ukraine has not yet died in the autumn of 1872, borrowing from the beginning of the Mazurek Dąbrowskiego, Poland is not yet lost. The melody had already been used for the Pan-Slavic hymn Hey Sloveni at the Slavic Congress in Prague in 1848. The Brotherhood of St. Cyril and Methodius, founded in 1845-46 in Kyiv, sent out a strong signal for the Ukrainian national movement with its advocacy of justice, freedom, equality, and brotherhood. The similarity with the famous slogan of the French Revolution belies the fact that the Brotherhood was dedicated to the Christian Slavic apostles. In 1847, it was forcibly dissolved by the Tsarist secret police. Taras Shevchenko rose from this circle to become the Ukrainian national poet. In 1840, Shevchenko had published his collection of poems Kobzar. The frontispiece of the first edition depicted a Kobzar, a poet-singer who plucked the strings of a shell-necked lute, the Kobzar, for accompaniment. Here, the apparently blind Kobzar is joined by a small boy with a staff and dog as a guide. With the success of his collection of poems, Shevchenko apparently mutated into a Kobzar himself. As transformation can be observed by the comparing the portrait from here from 1859 to this just seen portrait from 1840. The Kobzar, the Bandura, and even the hurdy-gurdy became indispensable characteristic of the Kobzar. They are considered typical Ukrainian musical instrument due to the fact that they were used often in Ukrainian folk music where they may have been their origins. With the national movement, their identity-forming function grew stronger and stronger as the many modern Kobzars and the commemorative stamp from 2014 prove. Of course, songs of praise for the legendary singer are already found in Shevchenko's collection of poems Kobzar. In the poem Perebenda, the eponymous national singer with his Te Orban, which is how Ivan Franko translated this Kobzar, is portrayed as old, blind, and a stranger. Perebenda accompanies and comments on the life of ordinary people in his songs using consolation, mockery, and dance song. And he always sings sadly as the Russian once destroyed the Zitsha, and does not forget to praise God. A printed postcard from early 1900s depict Ivan Yishkevitz's Kobzar encourage on the to make comparisons. The Kobzar can be seen here with a walking stick and his instrument, this time hurdy-gurdy, as well as with his youthful guide. The painting is identical in structure and content to the 1874 painting by William Bouguereau, Homer and his guide. Here it's a lie, actually. This connection of Ukrainian national culture to Greek antiquity has a prominent antecedent in Ivan Kotlarevsky's, the founder of modern Ukrainian literature, who had Greek gods appear as Cossacks in his translation of Virgil's Aeneas into Ukrainian. Greek mythology provided an ordered description of the world not only in ancient times, and its enormous impact throughout Europe is still felt today. Philosophical and literary works on the meaning of myth are legion, and national movements in particular have created political myths from which they derive their legitimacy. That they should not be regarded as historical facts, as is often had been claimed, was demonstrated in the 1980s in the impressive works of scholars such as Eric Hobsbawm, Terence Ranger, and Benedict Anderson. The fact that they are nonetheless justified and important for the free development of national identity is currently becoming painfully clear from the experiences in Ukraine. Lucian, the Homer of the North, as Madame Germaine Tale is said to have called him, is also a figure who has been enthusiastically accepted and widely received because he expressed an elementary social need. So this is a figures of founding national identity. In Ukraine, Ostap Veresai emerged as a leading Kobzar in the 19th century. Coming from a poor background, he became famous from about 1860 onwards as a singer of Ukrainian folklore and historical songs, which is also expressed by his gravestone. It has also made him the subject of ethnological research and a recognized representative of Ukraine, as an illustration in Elise's Reclus book Land und Leute, General Geography from 1880 proves. On his concert tours, Veresai also met Mykola Lysenko, the founder of Ukrainian national music. They both performed in a concert in 1874 on the occasion of the Third Archaeological Congress in Kyiv. This brought them both international recognition. And so we are here with Mykola Lysenko. He came from the Ukrainian hereditary aristocracy, an old Cossack officer family that had already fought under Bogdan Khmelnytsky and thus belonged to the noble class of the Poltava region. So I skip some of the biography. The musical versatility Lysenko demonstrated is impressive. He not only worked as a composer, pianist, and conductor, but also collected and edited folk songs as an ethnographer, which he then arranged and performed in self-organized concerts by choirs he himself had founded. He did everything. In this way, and especially through the impetus of the Ukrainian choral movement, he truly became the founder of Ukrainian national music. As a composer, Lysenko was open to all musical genres, for the most part vocal music, and turning only sporadically to chamber music. Ukrainian themes, especially with Cossack history, were repeatedly the subject of his stage and choral works, most of which were based on texts by Shevchenko. Lysenko set a total of 82 texts from Shevchenko's collection of poems Kobzar to music. And so here are some examples for his music. Due to time constraints, I will skip some examples and refrain from the analytical remarks on individual pieces. It's too long to read it. So at first, you see the cantata. By Bohoi, it's the Dnieper, the national river of the Ukraine, and he is sung. And if you look at the text, it's glory of Ukraine at the end, a triumphal uh, uh, story as you can imagine. But more important is shortly after 1880, Lysenko ambitiously took the material of Nikolai Gogol's novella Taras Bulba as the basis for an opera with which he succeeded in creating the Ukrainian national opera. However, it was a long road to go, but I skip this and I just give you some of the music. Musically, the first scene with the appearance of the Kobzar is particularly interesting because here, for the only time in the entire opera, the Kobzar singing is clearly and deliberately recreated over a fifth, and you can see and hear it. It's more good to see. This is the first scene of the opera. And the musical language is like we know from European opera, just typically. They're the ordinary people coming from church, praying for the police, looking for everything. And now look what's coming from the right side. the music changes for Kobzar. I must not describe this further. So I skip the example of the Nashtarka Poltavka, adapted from Ivan Kotlyarsky. There is I refer here to the excellent contribution by Lucinda Brown on this play, published in our last conference report from Leipzig. I only took it from yours. So you can read this. And I skip here again, but this is perhaps a little bit interesting. Ukrainische Kosaken Shumka Fantasy for Orchestra. And this is the same model as you had just before, with the music beginning in a total European manner, um, and then turning to Kobzar music. So it's wild Kobzar. And always this Lydian note. So, and always there is, it was a broader movement to have these Kobzars uh, going through the cities and the villages and playing on the bandura. And Lysenko made two rhapsodies on Ukrainian themes. And here you can see in a poor manner how he looks at this music, how should be constructed. And so you see he is beginning with a preludium like Bandura may do it. May have done it. And then later it goes a little bit further, and then the, the dance in Kyiv. The second is different from the first. It's not so complicated, it's more simply, but it's beginning bitonal. And it goes further, and then transmission to the Shumka. And in the Shumka, you see again this Lydian mode. It's very special. So everybody must re- realize this. In 1903, Lysenko's admirers gave him a figurine of Kobzar with hurdy-gurdy while in Posen. This can be seen as a sign to how strongly Lysenko was understood as a national composer during his lifetime. His prayer for the Ukraine, which he composed in 1885, proves that he was also able to represent his national concerns musically in a completely different way, namely in the tradition of Orthodox church singing. It's now often sung by German choirs, and we all know why. And it's deep. It's going really deep. But this is the special thing that this very simple music is transporting very many feelings, and this is important for the music and important for Ukraine. Thank you very much.